Powerful and provocative, prophetic and practical, informative and inspirational. How you gonna do better if you don't know what better looks like? I do. Come on, let's talk about it with me, the mind massager.
Dressing room, I'm getting ready to start for home. Got my ticket, it's in my hand, y'all. I'm gonna ride that morning train. You see me coming, don't close your door. Oh, I'm just a motherless child, got no place to go. Church, I'll be so glad. Oh, when the conductor, oh shucks, says all the boy. Oh, Lordy, oh, Lord knows I've been converted. Oh, and decided I'm not ashamed. You can break me.
Hey, T, you going on about your business?
Night hour, and I'll tell you just what I need. Oh, I know the Holy Ghost is my weakness. Oh, I know the angels, they shine my name. Church, I'll be so glad when the conductor, oh Lord, says all aboard. One more thing. Oh, I see the train. It's in the yard. Oh, it's getting ready, y'all, to make a stop. I got my ticket. Anybody else? It's in my hand. I'm gonna ride that morning train. Oh, some will be happy, some will be pain. Oh, I'll be in my Jesus' name. Church, I'll be so glad when the conductor. Church, I'll be so glad when the conductor. Church, I'll be so glad. Oh, when the conductor says all aboard.
Well, can y'all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Doctor, that for those that don't know, that is the infamous, the one and only, out of Nash, Texas,
Yes, sir.
the
Only one.
infamous Anthony T. Jordan. Doc, what's going on? How you doing tonight, man?
Doing wonderful, Dr. Kirkland. How are you?
Man, I'm here and I'm glad to be here. I want to first of all thank you for consenting to come on this episode of Tuesday F.L.O.W. For those that don't know, F.L.O.W. is an acronym that means faith, leadership, organizations, or witness. So if we bring somebody on, they're going to come out of one of those four communities. And tonight I brought on a friend of mine, one I met many years ago, Dr. We called him Dr. A.T. Jordan. This first time I didn't even know your name was Anthony until tonight when I saw it on the when I saw it on the label when you came on the show tonight. So I wanted to get you on, and also the person that was responsible for us connecting and responsible for so many others connecting, Bishop Charles E. Williams. I wanted to bring him on as well. How are you doing tonight, Bishop?
I'm so blessed, man, of God, and I especially felt churchy after hearing that song by A.T. Jordan. You know, it made me feel churchy.
I remember. Look, I remember the first time I heard that song, and I think you sung it that time.
Yeah.
And from what I understand, you walked up in a little church on 12th and 12th and Johnson back in the day,
Mm.
and you sung that song, and I heard that was the deciding factor.
It was the
Prior to
side
that
fact
vote,
I can never sing it anymore. Hey, never again, buddy. Have I sung that song?
man. And you know what, man? We need more of those songs. And what was so refreshing, Pastor Jordan, because when you told me you were gonna have your secretary send me a picture, I wasn't gonna wait on the secretary. I'll be honest with you. So first thing I did was I Googled your name, and when I Googled your name, I saw that you had preached at Second Baptist. And so when I saw that you preached there, quick screenshot for the picture. Then when I heard the picture, let me go ahead and do a screen save, right quick, screen record, and boom, the rest is history, man. And I put that out there like last Thursday, and I think we got like 100 views in the first few minutes. And Doc, that's that good stuff, man. That's that good stuff. And you know what's interesting, man? Because when they start talking about these, because when I think about that word, the words of the song, it talks about the conductor. Wait, give me the words, Bishop. What's the word? I see the
I
train.
see the train in the yard. See the conductor in the yard. The train's
It's getting
about
ready.
to make a start. It's getting ready to make a start. Yeah.
I have my ticket
in my hand.
I want to ride
The
morning train.
Yes, sir.
You see me coming.
Don't close
Don't
the
close.
door.
Because I'm just you said motherless child. Now I got my mama, so I'm still good, but I'm just a child of God with no place to go. But I'll be so glad when the conductor says all aboard. Now, Pastor A.T. Jordan, now you sing that song with conviction. So when he talks about the conductor saying all aboard, explain to those that are in their first year of pre-K Sunday school, what is he talking about?
Well, it's talking about going home. It's talking about the saints of God when we shall mount up with wings. And one writer or one fellow said we won't have no wings back in that when that time comes. So if I don't have no wings, at least I got a song I can sing. It's swing down, sweet chariot, and let me ride.
Yes, sir.
But I want to say this here, Dr. Kirkland, is that Dr. Charles Williams gave me that song.
Did he?
Yes, and I recorded it.
Oh, wow.
Back in the day, I used to do a Charles Williams Day. I would tell my wife, I said, I'm going to Little Rock. I feel like having a Charles Williams Day. And she encouraged me to go.
Wow.
And I would take my recorder and I would go to the church. And once he got through with all his meetings and so forth, he would tell me, let's go down to the sanctuary. He got on the organ and I put my recorder up there and he started singing and playing.
Really?
And when he got through singing and playing, I said, thank you so much. And I went straight to the studio.
Oh,
and
wow.
and recorded those songs.
That's amazing. And you know what? He would never take credit for that.
Oh, no. He would
never take credit for that. And that's what I love about it. But I want to stay on that for a hot second, because you said I'll be so glad when the conductor, and what's interesting is that this society we live in now, Bishop Williams, don't many people preach about what that conductor, looking forward to what that conductor said.
No, sir.
Go ahead.
Dr. let me I'm sorry to interrupt you, but those kind of songs gave us hope that there is life after this.
Yes.
With the turmoils of this world. That's one of the things that preachers have, not that you need to pump and prime, but you need to give people some hope. We need
Yes,
to
sir.
start talking about heaven again. We need to start talking about what to expect. But
That's
now they telling you, see your car, see your house, see your thing, and those things are not coming to pass, and it's depressing people.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And that's you know what, and I really you know how I am. I'm very organic with these conversations. I have plans, and sometimes I don't have plans, and we just end up where we end up. But
Mhm.
I remember as a young man growing up, life is really about consequences, right? I mean, we learn, if we do this, then we'll do that. My uncle and I were having a conversation today, and we talked about our upbringing, and we talked about how we were, just innately we were taught to respect women. We were taught that if we got in trouble, we would be punished. We were taught that if we did right, we would be rewarded. We would get the reap the rewards of our labor. All of those things, right? And so even with church and the way we believe of the Christian faith, we believe that we're living. I heard, was it you, Dr. Williams, wanted to say we're living with HIV? I'm living
No,
with
that wouldn't
no,
be
no, but
that
I'm
one.
living with heaven in view. Somebody said that long. I'm living with heaven in view, right? So if I'm living with heaven in view,
Get that clear straight.
yeah, I'm gonna get that clear. I'm gonna get that clear. Not that kind of HIV, but HIV meaning heaven in view. I probably remember some of the things that you used to say that
Acronym.
that you
Uh,
remember. But
yes,
but I remember we used to talk about living with heaven in view, and
yes.
that gave us something to reach for. And thinking of the verses like one of these mornings won't be long. You're gonna look for me and I'll be gone. I'm going up to glory to sing and shout. Won't nobody be able to put me out? We don't do that, like we used to, man. And I think that has I think like you said, it has exasperated hopes, and it's
Well,
left a lot of people depressed when they aren't able to reach. There you go ahead.
I'm real concerned about that, Dr. Kirkland, simply because if we don't give our people hope right now, they'll try to seek hope in materialism and robbing and stealing. And the ones that don't have will grow up saying they see gangsters on TV say, I want our lives a gangster. I want to make some money. I want to have some bling bling and all that kind of stuff. And that's pushing young ladies to prostitution and every other thing. I tell you,
Mm.
it's a critical time for us.
Yeah,
Doc,
go ahead,
Dr.
Dr. Williams.
Kirkland.
Yes, sir.
I'm afraid that the old church is almost gone.
Okay.
That church that we used to have back in the day, I don't think we'll see that church too
Mm.
much anymore.
Wow.
People have during the pandemic, um, it allowed people to come up with an excuse to
Mm.
get away from church. And I'm afraid that that day, all we have now is YouTube, when we can go back and pull up Keith Smith and pull up C.L. Franklin, um, and look at what it used to be.
Mm.
Because even the preachers, their preaching has changed.
Oh
I
yeah,
mean, they're trying to impress now,
yes, that's right.
and people are going to hell, and they're trying to impress people, and it don't make sense.
You know, Bishop Williams and I had this conversation privately, and everybody talked about the pandemic and where the genesis of the pandemic and where it came from and all those types of things. But when I look in Scripture, if it's more specifically, when I look in Ezekiel, I think around the 34th chapter, and it talked about how God said He would cause the sheep to scatter, right? And He said the reason He would cause the sheep to scatter was because, more in essence, if I'm summarizing it, it was a lack of leadership. You know what I'm saying? And
Mhm.
it was poor leadership, and the people
Mhm.
weren't prepared, for the scattering, right? But He also said that He would cause the church to make a U-turn, and those that came back, they were gonna come back wholeheartedly, right? And they weren't coming back to play church, and they were gonna hold people accountable and all of those types. I don't know why the conversation is going this way, but but my concern is, and like I said, has the church equipped itself to be able to deal with the time like this and a pandemic such as this? I mean, did the people have, like, think about it, Bishop Williams. And it was one time a year that grandmama would line us all up, right? And give every one of us a teaspoon of what? Castor
Yes,
oil, right?
that's right.
And that castor oil was enough to last us throughout the whole winter, right? Because it got all that stuff out of us, right? And so the
Right.
stuff that we should have been putting, or we were supposed to be putting in our people to prepare them for that pandemic. My concern was, were enough, because I still remember, BTU. I still remember Sunday school, man. And I mean, I'm still chewing on fat from years ago. But were people prepared like that to deal with these types of things? I mean, Dawood, he said, we got to teach our people the kingdom is not just in the sky, but the kingdom is also within. Were we teaching people that the kingdom was within?
See, I think that that's the error. That's the error. That's the type of contagious rhetoric that confuse people when you tell them the kingdom is within them.
Mm-hmm.
See, and then that's a different in theology. See, I came up believing that there's a kingdom beyond this world.
Mm-hmm.
And if we think we can localize the domain the domain of our humanity, all we are just space. Ain't nothing but space. We nothing but atoms and molecules. We are nothing but an anatomical thought that came in the mind of God out of dirt. And I think that ought to be humbling enough for some of these guys to say, I want to be again teachable. I want to be a prophet to the land. I want the people to know they can count on us. This social distancing been going on in the church a long time, though.
Yeah.
Before the pandemic.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
You may, and that's one thing I loved about you, man. You have always made things so practical. You know what I mean? I know you were before your time. I remember you were preaching one time, and I think you were talking about Thomas. I think you were talking about the other side of Easter, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
And you made a statement in that, and I want you to say what you meant by that statement, and then I want Dr. Jordan to elaborate on it as well. But you made a statement. You said, "Carnal knowledge cannot embrace divine vision."
Mm-hmm. That's
You
it.
remember that?
Yes.
So when God revealed that to you, what was He telling you in that instance when you said carnal knowledge can't embrace divine vision?
He was reminding me of the limited effect of carnality in living for the kingdom. We used to call it kingdom living because what we were doing, preparing ourselves down here for the glories of God up there. We believed that there was a heaven somewhere. And so therefore our lives would always reflect that.
Got you. So what do you hear when you hear him saying that, Pastor Jordan? When he says carnal knowledge cannot embrace divine vision.
Well, when I hear that, I think that that's the biggest problem that we have in the churches, in the local churches, because a lot of times the churches embrace the vision of the pastor with carnal knowledge instead of divinely. And so the church suffers because they that's what I hear from that.
Too much carnality in the church. Go ahead. Excuse me, Dr. Curtin. But
go ahead.
Depending on our carnal knowledge, that's what's messed up the church now. Too many people want to say it needs to go the way they think it goes instead of what the Bible said it should go, especially when it comes to leadership.
Gotcha.
Because everybody's now basing their lives on big egotism. I want to be deep and wonderful. I want to have a major ego that I can brag on myself more than I brag on God.
And that's one of the things that really trouble me, especially with the advancement of social media, because somebody can come in church, with a camera phone, take a snippet, a sound bite, run with it. Now it's a meme on church funny, congregation and all this other stuff going on. And most of the times, the world is understanding on a totally different frequency. I'm not even expecting. They're not even expected to understand, some of the things of the church or some of the spiritual things, but they try to look at it because, like, to me, life is about lenses a lot of times, right? Because we see what's on the inside of us, and even before it's been manifested, we see it. We a lot of time we've already kind of shaping it in our minds first, right? And then when we see it, we try to validate what we saw based on what we saw and what we saw inside of us initially, and then we try to justify it, what's actual in front of. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. And so at that point, then now you have this carnal knowledge. I mean, like I said, that always stuck with me. And there's a lot of things that you've done over the years, like I said, that stuck with me. One of the things that you did, and like I said, Pastor Jordan and we met as a result of you. you were the cause of that, because you would do that thing called a gospel bowl. What was your vision when you started doing the gospel? When you started the gospel bowl?
My vision was simply the time when we could come together to have something to look forward to, and there was really no spirit of competitiveness there.
It wasn't.
It
really wasn't.
There was the spirit of, hey, I got to preach this gospel. I'm on an assignment to do it, and I got to do it with perfected art. I got to do it under the power of the Holy Ghost. I've got to do it under the authority of the anointing, because the anointing destroys the yoke. We know that there were some people came and they didn't make it, but they did make it. Because in the gospel bowl, you can have your own opinion.
I was one of those.
It wasn't something openly discussed.
Yeah. But
Dr.
man,
Kirkland,
go ahead.
Can I say something?
Yes, sir.
I've been on several of Dr. Williams' gospel bowls, and I took it to Nash, and I started having gospel bowls. I call it preacher bowl. Yes. I took it to Nash, and what I saw, what he was doing, he was giving a platform for young preachers.
He was.
He was giving a platform for preachers that have never been heard before.
Yes, he did.
That people, they come from the back fields of nowhere, and he allowed them to come and be heard.
Yes, he did.
And through that, their ministry blew up.
Yeah.
There are places that I've gone all because of Dr. Williams. I never will forget. We was at the convention. It was a late night service, and Leroy Elliott was preaching, and Charles Williams came to me. Bishop Williams came to me, and he said, "You gonna sing when he get through preaching?" I said, "No." I said, "Man, all those people, thousands of people in that ballroom," and I said, "No." He said, "Yeah." He said, "Now, when he get through, I want you to take the mic." And I said, "Okay." He told me to sit on the front row. Mm-hmm. And when Leroy finished preaching, I think it was about 10 hands tried to get the mic. Charles grabbed the mic, put it in my hand, and he ran down and got on the organ. He said, "Sing." And I started singing in my dressing room.
Wow.
People were leaving out of the ballroom.
Wow.
They were leaving, walking out. And when I started singing, they turned around and came back in.
Right. That's right.
Wow.
And from that day, I was put on the map. I got revivals in behind that. And I thank God for Dr. Charles Week. He's done so much for me. It's ridiculous.
Wow.
My two hit songs, he gave them to me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, now let me just say this, because we listen. If there are some people in the chat that know some people that have participated in the prayer bowl, in the gospel bowl over the years, tag them right quick, and let's see if we can get them on for a few minutes and let them listen. Now hold on. I'm going to take a pit stop real quick, and No, Dawood, we're not doing that type of interview tonight. I promise. I got you next time. I just sent you a message on the interview, but we're not. We're not. We're not going there right now. I got you on the next interview, but that I promise I got you. Or if Bishop Williams would like you, if you want to inbox him, I'm sure he'll be happy to answer your question. But right now, I'm doing a different type of interview. Listen, Bishop Williams, when I put this flyer out the other day, somebody came in my inbox and said, "Is that the bishop from Little Rock?" I said, "Yes." They said when they named your church, but it was the wrong name. And I said, and I gave the right name, and they said, well, I met him at a gas station, and he said some words that impacted my life, and they changed me forever. I said, really? He said, yeah, and it turned out she's my cousin. So
Wow.
she had been trying to figure out how to thank you. She didn't know how to write you a letter or anything of the sort. So, I'm the type of person, I just bring them in. So here she is. This is my cousin, Bridget. This is my cousin. Bridget, go ahead. You got him in front of you now. So go ahead and say what you got to say. You said you didn't want to talk to him all these years. Tell him what happened.
God. Well,
well, hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello, how you doing?
I know it's been so many moons, and as James said, I really, the impact that you made on my life that day has stuck with me, and that was in 2008.
My God.
2008. Yeah,
My God.
yeah, and I share this testimony a lot because, and I'm gonna share the testimony so everybody else can hear it too. And I'll go that way. So I'm pumping my gas, minding my business. I'm not, and I'm for sure had a frown on my face because at that time I had a lot of stuff on my mind. I just moved back to Arkansas, and I was actually heading to Little Rock to go to the church on Philander Smith's campus. And Bishop, you stopped me, and just out of nowhere, you started pouring into me. The one thing that I will share is that you told me if you give your life completely to Christ, He'll do stuff to make your head spin. And that was on and I still remember this day. It was a Thursday. That following Sunday, I went to church and trying to break from so many traditional things, or actually not being willing, not yielding. And that was the first time I literally raised my hands in church, like giving God praise that following Sunday. Because of the words that you gave me, you spoke over me. I said, you know what? Let me give God a shot. Let me give him a try, and let me see this head spinning. In my vision, I saw my head literally turning around. When I say from that point, my life has been. Now there have been some dents, but everything has been forward. So I want to thank you for your obedience. That was in 2008. It is 2022, and I'm still rocking with God. My relationship is even stronger with God. Yeah, that was your obedience. And so anybody that's out there, I just want to encourage you, if God touches your heart to say something, do something, do it. Because Bishop, you touched my life in 2008.
Let me tell you,
I'm still rocking with God.
Let me tell you how grateful I am to you, because I retired, but yet I'm not retired. But sometimes I feel like I'm not done enough. I sometimes look in retrospect of my life and feel like I hadn't done everything I needed to do. And sometimes I feel like I've let God down. And I get in depression. And young lady, I want to thank you this evening, because that has blessed me. And I'm appreciative. Thank you, Dr. Kirkland, for facilitating that. That was a blessing to me.
Yes, Doc. And Bridget, I appreciate you for being obedient and coming into my inbox. She came in my inbox on Instagram, and this is my cousin. I mean, really like my first cousin. But I moved to Atlanta. What, in 1995, and I haven't been home much. I haven't seen Bridget much in her adult life. You know what I'm saying? But that doesn't mean we're not close. We're not still close. Our blood is just thick, and we just pick it up like we never put it down. You know what I'm saying? So when she came in and she said, "I need to write him a letter. I need to do something," I said, no, you can tell him face to face. He's on this video. And she
Well,
said she would be
thank
here at a certain time, and she did it.
you.
And she's busy, man. She's a professional teacher. You know, she's a
Okay.
professional teacher. So so she's really
Okay.
busy. So she stopped by. She has to go out tonight doing some more things. But she
Well,
thought it not robbery to stop
okay.
by and to affirm you, and that's what I wanted to do. So Bridget, I appreciate you, ma'am, and we're gonna get back in this conversation if it's all right with you.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank
All
you,
right.
Chris.
Bishop, people love you, Doc. let
You're
me get
mind
Dr. Jordan
blower,
off
boy.
mute. There you go, Dr. Jordan. What you think about that, Dr. Jordan? That impact he
Oh
made?
man, hundreds, if not thousands, of people can say the same thing about Dr. Williams. He has impacted so many lives. He has helped so many preachers. And what really bothers me is that at a time when he was down, they didn't come to his rescue.
Mm.
Time when he needed them, they weren't nowhere to be found.
Wow.
And I remember when I used to have my Charles E. Williams Day, and I would travel to Little Rock. I told you I had to wait until he finished his meetings.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Williams, Bishop Williams, is the closest thing I have seen to a godfather.
Wow.
While he was in his office, there was a line of people outside in the hallway waiting to get in to see him.
I remember.
And these people were waiting to see him with their hands out.
Yeah.
And he put something in every last one of their hands, and they walked out.
That's interesting that you say it like that.
And let me tell you something.
The truth, he's telling
when he needed them, they weren't nowhere to be found.
Wow.
You know, it's just like Jesus when he was on trial. No one came. Matter of fact, I mean, the scripture saying all of his disciples, and they all forsook him and left him to suffer alone. I remember Samuel Rash preaching that.
That's right.
That passage of scripture.
Wow.
Yeah, forsaken Christ.
Yes,
and you know what I love about that though, Dr. Jordan, even in that's such a sad situation, but it never changed his heart back then, because I remember, because man, you remember back then, Dr. Weed, I was trying to cope my wife, as your word, cope. I was trying to cope my wife, so my ex-wife. So I came to the church, and you had 8 o'clock service back then, and I sat down beside you, and you immediately just started talking to me, and then you said, "Come preach for me next week." And I had just started preaching, you know what I'm saying? Then I came and preached for you next week. I might have been 8 minutes in, and I said, I'm not a long-winded preacher, so I'm about to close. You said, oh, but you will be, and you hollered that out. And then from that day on, you took me in as a, you know, if it was a son-in-law in ministry or whatever it was, but you took me, even though I was Bishop, and I will say this publicly, I am Bishop Kenneth Robinson's son. That's my father in ministry.
Yes.
But if I have a father, that's Bishop Charles Williams, because he's the first one to ever put me on a plane and brought me back home. And when I would come back home, I said, Doc, I can stay with my family. Don't worry about it. No, Doc, you a preacher. Preacher need his own hotel room, you know. And like you said, Dr. Jordan, he would bring us in. I mean, you talking about cats from that nothing, or from nowhere, whatever, and put us up in the embassy suites, you know, and let us eat breakfast in the embassy suites. And even though I was a son, I was just an associate. I had never pastored before, but he would bring me downstairs and would have talks with me like I'm a grown man. You know, I was a grown man, but it was a different level of ministry and the conversations, the depth of the conversations. So I'm always and then when it got to the point where, I mean, I had heard about the Gospel Bowl for years, but when I moved to Atlanta and you brought me home to preach in the Gospel Bowl, and I'm sitting there like, man, I can't hoop like that. I ain't, these cats are national. They got these squawks. They got these squawks. They got these squalls, and they can holler and all this. I said, why is it? But you kept bringing me, man. And I was just, I'm grateful for it, man. I'm really grateful.
You're
and I
a great
appreciate
preacher. You're real modest yourself, but you're one of the great young preachers in our nation. and you not only can preach it, but you're intellect, and you're
Yeah.
not just hollering. You're theologically sound, sociologically strong, and I can run a
Sociologically
few
sure.
more.
Well, hold on. I got somebody else wanted. Hold it. I think somebody else wanted to say something to you too. Give me one hot second. Who is this? Let's see who it is. Hold on. Somebody else wanted to say something to you. Hold on.
God bless you. This is
Lord,
Presiding
have
Bishop
mercy,
Isaac Brooks
Father.
of the St. Abraham Baptist Church and Presiding Bishop of the National Assembly of Christian Churches and Ministries Fellowship Incorporated. Listen, I just want to say God bless you, Bishop C.E. Williams, Charles E. Williams. God bless you, sir. God bless you, Bishop Emeritus. I love you. You have impacted my life in a great, miraculous way. And out of the years that I've known you, since we met, since 2010 or 11, you have impacted my life in a mighty great way, and I certainly appreciate you. God bless you. God keep you is my prayer. Be encouraged, Bishop Williams. Be encouraged.
Thank you, man. Thank you, man of God.
So I guess some people think some good things about you, huh?
Oh, that's nice, man.
I
Yeah,
guess
that's
a few
nice.
people think
Right,
a few people
right.
think, and these are people that you've impacted. I mean,
Exactly.
you have
Bishop
made
Brooks.
a major
Got it, bro.
impact in the lives of people. I mean, if we thought right now off the top of our heads, how many years do you think you did the Gospel Bowl?
Man of God, I started the Gospel Bowl before I left the Delta,
Okay.
Mississippi Delta. So I think I did the Gospel Bowl maybe 25 to 26 years,
Wow.
honestly. Mhm.
And how many, if you had to guess, how many preachers would you say that have participated in the Gospel Bowl over the years?
Oh, my goodness. I don't know. I've had my young boys when y'all were growing up, Kurt, and now y'all all grown. So I don't know. It's been a lot of them. A lot of them have gone to be national acclaimed preachers and strong. I consider all of my friends are national. I
You
ain't
said
got not
national.
one. I ain't got not one local
Did you say?
friend.
Did you say national preachers?
Yes,
Hold on.
sir.
Somebody else wants to say hi to you
For
too. Hold on.
allowing me the opportunity to say a
I
brief word about
appreciate it.
that. Everyone knows my relationship with him. They know how I love him, and Dad, I just want you to be encouraged and just know that you have planted a lot of seeds and harvest has come up.
Oh, have mercy.
Sometimes it's not always material, but you have planted a lot of spiritual seeds as well. And all across this world, you have sons and daughters who stand on your shoulders because of the path that you paved for us. Even now, I'm on my way to Iowa, a place that you used to go. So I'm following in your footsteps. I just want you to know, man of God, I love you. There's nothing I wouldn't do for you. You be encouraged today and know that God got you. Peace.
Oh yeah.
Wow, man, Kurt, you messed me up tonight.
Who? What I do?
I'm doing all I can to hold my composure. 18,
What I do? What
18,
I do?
come and get this guy, boy, because he's going to try and make me start to crying.
What I do? I'm just asking what I do.
I don't want to cry on you too.
Let me. I got. You know what? I was thinking about you the other night, and I got a question for you.
Yes.
I got a question, and I want you to think about what I'm going to ask you.
Okay.
Because I look at church, and we talk about how church has kind of an aspect of the church has kind of fizzled. Or now, of course, the church is eternal. The church is strong. It's going to be all right because we got an eternal insurance policy. I get that. But in the eyes of the world and all this kind of stuff, do you think? Because I know you started the fellowship of churches and all that kind of stuff, right? Do you think that was it that you wanted to be a bishop, or did you think it was necessary for you to be a bishop?
I honestly, when I thought and read up on the bishop, because I did that because A.T. and Dr. Jordan and Dr. Curtin, I didn't want to be out of place with God.
Okay.
So I studied it, and it said the man that desires. It didn't say the man called to, but the man that desires the office of a bishop desires a great work.
Mm-hmm.
And it gave the criteria they felt, the common criteria they felt, Paul felt that a bishop ought to have.
Mm-hmm.
What I wanted to impress upon the bishopry was the fellowship part of it, because I sensed there were too many guys have gotten disconnected
Yes, sir.
and from each other. And instead of us having the guidelines of love ye one another, man, we've been so against each other in pulpits and cutting each other down the throat and backbiting until we've sent a dangerous message to the world when they look at us from the peripheral and see preachers fighting preachers.
Yes, sir.
And see, God had to bring forth, he allowed, not that he brought it forth, this pandemic to put us all on the same level. Because some
Mm.
guys that got too big headed, and God said, what I guess I'll do, I'll cancel all of this, including these titles, including everything else. I didn't want to get so title oriented until it's intimidating. See,
Got you.
some guys want to wear it as a badge of intimidation, that says how high you are in the church of the living God. See, the higher you think you are, the more humble you ought to become. That's my philosophy, and
And
that's
so
what the
as a
Bible says.
and so can you still hear me? Because I know I just hit my camera out. You still hear me,
Yes,
right?
yes,
Okay.
sir.
Yeah.
So with the bishop. Now bishop is a pastor's pastor, right?
That's right. That's
And
all he
so
is.
in being a pastor's pastor, he can kind of, it almost highlights a corporate structure to an extent, right? Because
Yeah.
and the reason I say that, because you talked about some of the perils and some of the traps that we've succumbed to, right? And
Mm.
sometimes I wonder if the church had more of a corporate structure, and we weren't so autonomous, right? Because being autonomous allows us to do basically whatever we want to do, but it also,
Well,
in a sense, it weakens the sub. Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
Doctor, we will never be autonomous because we're
Okay.
under the structure of 66 powerful books.
Okay. I
We
agree.
under the release of gospel truth, whether people want to accept it or not. The
Hmm.
Bible is not a lie. The Bible is truth. Something else is wrong. And
Okay.
until the church get back to the biblical principles, preachers get back to loving one another. And see, there's a lack of fellowship, especially now, since we got this pandemic. Everybody now is becoming competitive when it comes to uh, lives and all this kind of stuff. You know, they used to be the exceptional guys, A.T. Jordan, that could talk to the world on like Dr. Kirkland is doing now. But because we got access to these vehicles, thank you,
Yes.
Dr. Kirk, for using it. Thank you,
Mm.
Dr. Jordan, for us using this. Because I told you, it brought all of us on the same level.
That's
They
Mm.
can play grand if they want to, but they stumble and have some struggles. They every mega church or big church, sure they had a lot of money, but this pandemic humbled a lot of guys for a moment. Now they're
Absolutely.
coming back bragging about how many folk they got post pandemic. You know,
It's a different day. What you got, Jordan? You got anything that you want to add to what he just said?
well. I can't say nothing but amen because the field has been leveled, and we're all on the same playing ground now. I mean,
oh yeah,
nobody can
oh yeah,
brag, nobody can lie
that's right.
about how many they saw on Sunday.
Mm.
Um, people travel and they show up at your church, and you don't have but a handful. Everybody got a little handful,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
I think it was needed for us as preachers. I really do think that because I think that we had gotten complacent,
that's
Oh
it.
yeah.
That's it,
and
doctor.
so the Lord had to bring us down and allow us. We was worried about the people that didn't come to church
Mm.
before the pandemic. We talk
Mm.
about folk that didn't come to church. Now we thanking God for the folk that did come.
Yeah.
So
That's good. That's good. That's good.
yeah.
The pandemic definitely exposed a
Oh,
lot of
it did.
people.
Oh
It
yeah.
did. I always use the term that I use the expression that the greatest enemy of originality is the template. You know, because when you only
That 30-something, 18.
I mean
Yes,
that
sir.
the great because everybody for so long were professional copycats, right? I mean
Now say
everybody
that
was doing what
again, Kate. If I can write that down, say it again slow
I'm
now.
now you the greatest enemy of originality is the template
My
because
God.
everybody's so plug and play. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Everybody, you know, we see what somebody else has done, so we just go and do that. You know, we see what somebody else does, we go and do that. And I
Yeah.
think when I'm doing what Dr. Williams is doing and not what God has told me to do, then I think at some point, some kind of way, I have diluted the power, right? Because it's something to be said for originality. And what the pandemic did was it called on your creativity. It caused us to have to really tap into those
Right.
cognitive skills, right? You know, that inner piece where only God speaks to us and we know it's him. You know what I'm saying? The sheep know the shepherd's voice, and the stranger he will not answer. So when you know that it's God, and you don't matter how many you're looking at physically, this pandemic gave us the ability to look at the views and see that I might not be looking at but 10, but I got 500 looking. And so those 500 looking has enabled me. For instance, Doc Jordan, when I went back and looked at that video of you preaching in front in at Second Baptist, I'm sure you probably saw 700-800 that Sunday, but it had over 2,300 views. You know, and then not only 2,300 views, but how many now I've shared it and other people have shared it. So we end up making a much larger impact. So here it is. God commissioned us to go fishing, but but he didn't restrict us in the type of bait we could use.
My God. You
Because I
some
mean,
kind of
some people like
thinker,
to trot
young
line
man.
fish. Say what now?
You some kind of thinker, Dr.
Yes,
I mean,
sir.
Jordan.
well, some people
I
like to fish with
I
trot
admire
lines.
I
Some people
admire
like to go
you.
deep sea fishing. You know what I'm
Yes,
saying?
sir.
Some
Yes,
people like to, get up and fish off the bank with a telescopic pole. Some people, they want to do fly fishing. Ain't no weight on the line. You know what I'm saying? But every type of bait that goes forth to catch out fish, it brings back fruit. But here I am trying to tell AT
Okay.
how to fish, AT trying to tell Williams how to fish, and then trying to tell me I'm fishing wrong. Come and talk to me, somebody. And so now, I'm sorry. I
Wait a
mean, I'm
minute.
sorry. Y'all give me back. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Wait a
I'm
minute, Kate. Now you done brought us on here. Now you getting geriatric abuse. you trying to toss me and AT around. Wait a
sorry. No,
minute.
I'm not either. Hey, I am
You
because
mighty
I,
deep.
no, man. I don't
You
like fishing
mighty.
on the surface. Now I do want to get on the boat. I'll
Oh,
take a
you
little.
mighty
I'll
deep.
take a
Good.
little drama
I'm
mean.
putting on my what they call it preserver, my life preserver. I'm tucking it around my neck.
Well, man, but you know what though? What people don't understand, and we're not gonna be on long tonight. I just wanted to come on and talk for a few minutes. Oh, hold on, wait a minute. Hold on, I forgot to. It was somebody else that said something. Hold on, let me see something. One more person. Let me get one more. Hold on.
Bishop Charles Williams, Pastor Willie Jameson Jr. of the Love
My
Church of
God,
Memphis,
my man.
Tennessee. Man, listen, I just come on here to let you know that you are the world's greatest. The world is a better place today because of Bishop Charles E. Williams. Man, I just want to thank you
Thank you,
for
man.
the opportunities you have given me and so many other preachers across the globe. Man, you are a one of a kind guy. I pray continued blessings and favor upon you, your life, and your ministry, your family as well, man. Keep doing what you do, Bishop. You are important to the body of Christ. Man, we love you. We thank God for you. And we pray that God will continue to give you the desires of your heart. Keep at it, Bishop. We love you.
Thank you, man.
Peace.
Yes,
Wow.
sir.
Wow, Kurt. MC
Yeah, man.
pastors the church. He pastored the church I once pastored
Oh
back in
yeah,
my early days. My second
really?
mhm,
Wow, wow,
in
wow.
Crenshaw, Mississippi.
I have more, and I'll send those to you privately. I'm not gonna put any more on here, but I got a couple of more. And these people,
Okay.
they really appreciate you for the connectedness. Like I said, I know At Jordan's phone number by heart. I ain't gonna say it on here because I don't want too many women calling him and his wife beat him up. But I know it by heart. I have a relationship right now with Kennard Bush. That's one of my very best friends because of you. You know what I mean? After I never will forget after one of the gospel bowls. He was going through something, and we sat in the office and we talked, and we built a friendship, and that friendship is still valid even today. And I've met so many others because of you. So many revivals have been passed out. So many opportunities. I preached for Dr. E.J. Jones in Chicago, Illinois, simply because you made a phone call. And if I would have met him probably 2 years sooner, who would have known what would have happened, because he passed not long after you introduced me to him. And so many places across this country I've gone to because you simply made a phone call. And Jordan, I know you can speak to the same testimony, and so many others can say the same thing if they're honest with themselves. That's the thing. If they're honest with themselves, Doc, you put me on a plane as an associate minister, pick me up, put me in a hotel, put $1,000 in my pocket for 2 sermons. I don't take that for lightly, Doc. I don't take that for granted. And to this day, we're friends. You're still a father figure to me. You're still in the faith. I mean, and the last thing we're gonna do is let you fall. And so I wanted. Go ahead.
Carrington, whenever I would come to Atlanta, you would lay out the carpet for me, man of God. And you've always been so kind. You've never changed. A.T. Jordan, this is the kind of guy that stick and stay. And I love that about you, Kirkland. And thank you for sharing your platform with me tonight. You got my eyes teary and everything. And I'm just thankful to you. I'm thankful that I can have the same platform with Dr. A.T. Jordan, who is a great friend of mine and been for years and will always be until I close my eyes and go to heaven. And I know he want me to get, be in my dressing room then, but he ain't coming.
Man, I appreciate
it. He got to pay that back.
Wow, you got. Well, listen, we're going to close. AT, you got any words in closing, man? We're going to break this down. I want to make sure I keep these conversations under an hour, and we're right at 50 minutes.
I want to thank you so much for just involving me in such a program like this here. You bless me. Whenever I talk to you, you talk yourself down a little bit, and even back in the day when you was in the Gospel Bowl, you impressed me.
He's impressed, yes.
You're a sharp dresser,
and
your preaching matches your dress.
Oh yes, sir, Doctor.
You're just a sharp guy. You got a mind and a half.
Yeah, you do.
And you are destined for greatness. You're already there. The Lord just polishing you.
Yes.
And I thank you so much, man. Charles has put it in all of us. Mm-hmm. We got a little piece of Charles Williams in all of us.
We do.
Look what you're doing. You have set up a platform.
Yes, sir. A major one.
For preachers all over this country. The same thing Charles was doing. I just thank God that I met Dr. Williams. He allowed me, and I went back to Nash and I started to preach bowl. And
I never got invited to that one though. So I never got invited.
I couldn't fly you in, man. I couldn't fly you in. Like
I'm messing with you, man.
but one of the greatest preachers that's preaching out there now, Dr. Bertrand Bailey.
Yes, sir.
He was the preach bowl catapulted him into the light, into the limelight. And from preaching at Evergreen at that preach bowl, he went from there to Little Rock, from there to Chicago, and
he did.
It's history now.
That's right.
I mean, he's all over the country. And that's what Charles instilled in me.
Wow.
To be able to help preachers. Yeah. And I thank God for him. I mean, and Dr. Williams, you just don't know. You did something, and you have probably bless millions of preachers by just putting yourself and your heart in that cluster of preachers that came to your gospel bowl, and they start doing the same thing.
And Doc, and he made sure all of us got paid.
Yeah,
he made sure all of us got something.
Yes,
literally,
sir.
And made sure we got. And some of us, I'm sure, would have done it for me for nothing. You know what I'm saying? But because especially local guys, but he would literally make sure we all got paid. He would never let anybody disrespect a preacher. Sometimes he might. I ain't gonna lie, Doc Williams. I'm grown now, so I can say it a little bit. Sometimes he might come across a little abrasive to a mind that's not ready for him. For somebody who's not ready for him, you know what I'm saying? So he might come off as a little abrasive sometimes, but he had a great heart, and he was not going to let anybody step on or hurt a preacher. He told that woman in New Orleans one time, "I'm going out there. Went out this door, and I'm coming back in this door in the name of Jesus." And we went finna walk all the way around that Superdome, but we walked right in that front door. But I did that because I was with Bishop Williams, and that's the only way that worked. And let me say this because we get ready to close. I told you, Bishop Williams, when I started this platform, because my goal eventually is to interview pastors, everyday pastors, not the mega pastors, not the ones who have the major platform, not the ones who, I just want everyday guys, who are living the life, right? Because you know what, AT, when Thomas met with the disciples after Jesus had arisen, but he hadn't seen them yet, right? Thomas said something that was very key to me. He said, "I won't believe except I see the wounds," right? Unless I see the nails in his hands, unless I see the piercing in his side, he said, I'm just not going to believe. And I believe there's a generation of people that are this close to believing, but they need to see our wounds. And I think sometimes in these settings, because last time Bishop Williams and I talked, we talked about some of the greatest successes and some of the greatest failures, right? And he was just as transparent as he could be. And I love the fact that a lot of preachers, they'll come on here, because if you come on here trying to use big words and trying to impress people, we probably gonna have a short show. I'm be honest with you, I can do something else. I mean, I can do the baseball game on right now. I'm Braves winning 5-0. I can watch the game. I don't have no problem with that. But if we can have a conversation that can bless somebody, right? That can say that can hear Bishop Williams say, "You know what? I might have done this differently if I were to approach this again, but I might have messed up when I did this. When I look at it in retrospect, when AT can say, you know what, I kept my church going, but I never stopped working. That's why I got a land. I got land out there, and I'm gonna make sure if my church never pays me a dime, my family's gonna eat." My businesses are gonna be okay. This is gonna happen, because planting them watermelons and everything teaches you the principle of sowing and reaping. You can't, if you don't plant a field of watermelons, you ain't gonna get not one watermelon back, are you? And that's the same thing we do in our people. If we don't sow anything into them, what are we gonna get back? And I think that's where we are. I think we have to really adjust our mindsets to start being more. I'm at a point now. I'm 50 years old, man. I can't just be out here fighting willy-nilly. All of my punches have to be calculated. So in this last point, man, I'm trying to be calculated. Bishop Williams, give us some closing words, and we'll get ready to get out here in a second.
Man of God, let me tell you something. God has taken me on a whirlwind movement in my ministry. If I could say to young men today, young preachers, middle-aged preachers, or some old preachers, I would tell them, don't stop looking. One day a prophet had prophesied, and the prophets of Baal had committed suicide. They were dead. And all of a sudden, he found himself in a peril because Ahab and his wicked woman said, "Where the rain at?" And so Elijah had to go now to the mountain that he had already had one victory. I took a little boy with him and told the boy, "I need you to be a meteorologist." And he said, "I'm going to pray 7 times. You look 7 times and tell me what you see." That boy said, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. I don't see nothing. But guess what? Out of all the times the prophet was turned down, he told the boy, don't stop looking.
Wow.
And the 7th time, he saw a cloud. It wasn't a big one. It's about the size of a man's hand.
Yes, sir.
But a man hand-sized cloud can bless a whole nation of people.
You say so,
And
sir.
I tell them, don't stop looking beyond your condition. Don't stop looking beyond your circumstance. Don't stop looking beyond your concerns. Don't stop looking. Keep looking,
bro.
preachers.
Keep looking.
I love you.
Man, we love you too. We love you
Dr.
too.
Kirkland,
Yes, sir.
can I just say something to the young preachers real quickly? It ain't
Will
going
you
to take
please?
but a second.
Will you please?
Wait your turn.
My Jesus.
That's it. That's all I can say.
Well, may the Lord watch. Between me and thee, I don't really have nothing to say about that behind that. But it's been real. I appreciate y'all. I always tell you, we're gonna keep doing this. Next week, I'm supposed to have Bishop Kenneth Robinson, but we're gonna see how that goes. We're praying for that family because we know that we lost Papa Robinson. We know we lost Daddy Ulysses Robinson. So we're praying for that family. They're gonna be burying him this week. They're gonna be celebrating his life. So if he's not able to come next week, we'll find an alternate. But we'll make sure the show will go on.
Knowing my bishop, he'll be able to do it.
I'm sure he'll be
strong as the Lord.
He's strong. I saw him doing a show today, and I was just like amazed at the strength that he has.
He's strong in the Lord.
Yes, sir. So we're gonna keep doing this every week, and I can't wait to see it grow. Bishop Williams, you'll be back. You know that. Bishop Jordan, you'll be back. Pastor Jordan will be back as well. But we're gonna leave the same way we started. Y'all say good night, and we out of here.
Good night.
Good night. God bless you.
Peace.
All right, let's leave the same way we started.
Dressing room. I'm getting ready to start for home. Got my ticket, it's in my hand, y'all. I'm gonna ride